When looking at the many philosophical concepts of Ruism, there is much to consider. When looking at the more meditative side of Ruism, however, it is hard not to talk about it without talking about the idea of qi. In the context of what is being discussed in this class, let us first turn our attention towards a text written by none other than Confucius himself. In the Analects of Confucius, this vital energy of qi was often used as a term to mean breath. Later Ruist philosophers, such as Mencius, went on to build off this idea of qi. In his own text, he goes on to say that this qi fills the space between heaven and earth, and unites with rightness and the Tao. That without them, the qi will starve. In other words, qi can be seen as an almost origin of human life, transcendent from ideals such as harmony and equilibrium. But how is this qi cultivated? What are its uses? Well, if my understanding from my readings on Mencius's thoughts on the topic are correct, then it is achieved through methods similar to those proposed by the Great Learning. In other words, it is to bring balance, equilibrium, and ultimately harmony to your mind-heart and to your life that you might cultivate qi. But this concept is not mutually exclusive, as one can attempt to manifest qi in an effort to bring one closer to harmony. In order to look more into this concept of qi, one must expand and form a greater understanding of the ideal of harmony. To quote one of the many texts we read, the basic meaning of harmony is being together, something that in this time of social distancing is difficult to accomplish. But that isn't to say it is impossible. Honoring the relationship between child and parent, student and teacher, and sister and brother might very well be achievable even in this time. Likewise, the practice of doing to others what you would have them do to you is one that is important in these relationships. By practicing reciprocity, you may come to understand others' plights, and you may again push yourself close to harmony. While other ideals of harmony such as moral governance are key, I feel as though they stray too far from the idea of manifesting qi. That isn't to say, however, that one cannot manifest qi in their daily life. Much of the discussion in this class has been about manifesting qi through the art of meditation. While looking through my notes at the many times we discussed meditative practices, I noticed in the writings that all acts can be meditative. And in many ways, that makes sense, as certain acts can be very relaxing and helpful. While I personally found quiet sitting to be the best meditative practice, perhaps for others, it is more physical practices such as calligraphy, musical practice, practice of hobbies, perhaps even work, such as positions of power, might be meditative in some respect for those who are office holders. For others, the answer might come through daily tasks, such as making your own bed, going on walks, or talking with friends. Ultimately, whatever method you use, as long as it helps you to bring the type of equilibrium and harmony necessary to manifest qi, then it shall help you in your daily life. In my own demonstration and practice of the art, I came down on a rather peculiar and yet special night. In the late of that evening darkness, I journeyed out of my house on foot, over the hills towards the beach. I had to remain vigilant for the sake of my own safety, and to avoid any type of trouble if the beach is closed. When I knew everything was clear, I made my way down towards the water. When I say it was a magnificent night, it was truly spectacular. Bioluminescent algae have been lighting up the waves of California's coast for the last week, which made my meditative experience all that much more special. Not to be distracted by this, however, I set myself into the cross-legged position, a position I found to be the most comfortable, and closed my eyes. I remained in this position for at least a half an hour, slowly breathing in, letting my breath creep out, momentarily holding and repeating the process. Sometimes I would let my mind drift in productive ways, or to things that would help to ease what burdens my present day brings, while others I let my thoughts remain silent. remaining one with the wind and the waves. I let my senses detect everything: the salty sea air, the cool wind on my face, the crashing sound of the waves mixed with the choppy sea breeze, the feeling of the sand against my legs, and that air temperature. And overall, letting myself ease into what nature had given me today. It is through these practices that I've come to know Qi, and through the maintaining of this ritual, as was stressed by Confucius, that I've come to find some semblance of peace and energy in these times.